moment to every one of the legislators that are here, please stand up. This is a group that needs a round of applause. I mean, you have never seen a group of people, and I'm going to talk to you about them. I want you to know that some 18 months ago, as I was sworn in as Louisiana's 57th governor, I got back to the mansion, and there was a stack of books on my desk that people had given me. And I started rifling through them. I was actually looking for a manual on how you be a good governor. You know, when you go to Congress, they give you one. And it is really great to be back in Ascension Parish. You know, there are just a few parishes, I guess 13 of them to be exact, that I had an opportunity when I started my political career to serve as governor. Mert, you remember that? And Ascension Parish was one of those parishes, and I will never forget you invested me and given me an opportunity to serve the great state of Louisiana. But in that stack of books was a small book I found by a gentleman from Texas, a young man named Tyler Lucas, who was at the University of Virginia. And it was a book written on Huey Long. And so I picked up the book, mostly because it wasn't one of the thick books. If you want to give me one for me to read, give me a small one. But I picked it up, and I was reading it one evening in bed, and I found it unbelievably interesting, because when I cracked the book open, the book began like this. Tyler begins like this. He said that when Huey Long entered politics, Louisiana was an immensely backward state. It was suffering from a stagnant economy, a dreadful education system, and one of the worst infrastructure systems in the nation. And as I sat there and I read those words, I thought to myself, wow, I said, let me read this to my wife. So I read those words to her. And Sharon turned to me, she said, now let me get this right. That was Louisiana as Huey found it? I said, yeah. She said, so after 100 years, we still have those same problems? I said, yeah. She said, and how long was he governor before they shot him? I said, 1 term. She said, well, good luck. You finally might have found yourself in a position you can't get out of. I'm going to bed. But you know, as I continued to read, his next sentence, I think, really brought into focus the challenges we face, because he said, the author says, worst of all, Louisiana's leaders didn't seem to care. And I thought about those, and I said to myself, well, what is different today than back then? And I thought, I knew that what we had at our disposal was a critical mass of people who you sent to Baton Rouge, many of whom who just stood up. And some of whom you sent, almost all of the D.C. delegation is great, but those folks, it was a critical mass of people that you sent to Baton Rouge that, guess what? That they cared. And you know, what they have done, what we have done in 18 months is truly the greatest story that no one is writing about. Because no longer is Louisiana the laughing stock of the South. Though today we are poised to take our place where she rightly belongs, at the head of the pack. Because today there is a new, and I've been talking about this for 24 months, that there is a new industrial South. There is a new economy that is happening in this part of the country. And it was our turn. I mean, think about this. Think about where we were 36 months ago, which isn't that long of a time. Think about if I'd have went and saw, where's the sheriff? If I'd gone over there and saw the sheriff and said, Sheriff, look, I'm telling you, you elect me and this great group of folks that you sent to Baton Rouge, I promise you that within 18 months, Louisiana will leap 13 places in an economic outlook from 31 to 18. That in the best worst states rankings, we would move from 29th to 20th. In the rich state, poor states outlook, we would go from 26 to 18. Now, if I'd have told the sheriff, oh, I'll give you a better one for that, boy, he throws me out of his office in my scenario. If I told him, in U.S. News and World Report, our cost of living would go from 13th to 5th, but in our educational rankings, we would be 13th. Now, the sheriff, being the good fellow that he is, he'd have either said, you're going to be a great governor because you can lie real well, or he might have thrown me out of his office. But think about that. Ranking after ranking after ranking. The rankings that you all have cried about, have spoke about, have pondered about, we are moving. And we are moving because of you. The statistics that those rankings are showing have been the result of 3 special sessions, 2 regular sessions, where we have reversed decade after decade of setbacks and placed us on a new course. We have reversed for the first time in 30 years. We have reversed an outward migration problem. This year, we found 30,000 new people that came into Louisiana instead of 35,000 leaving Louisiana. Huh? Think about that. I mean, it's historic. It really is. It's unbelievable. From public safety to education, to tax reform, to insurance reform, we have answered your call. At the beginning of this administration, at the beginning of this term, the people of this state told me that they were sick and tired of being sick and tired about crime. We arranged those priorities to coincide with your mandate. And we acted by passing laws that help restore law and order, that gave victims a voice, that told our law enforcement officers, the great men and women who wear that uniform and stand on that thin blue line, protecting us from those that want to harm us, that we support them. And the results have been astounding. Just in New Orleans was ranked one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Today, crime has been decreased by 50%. This morning, I stood before the press corps with our federal partners, the FBI, the U.S. Department of Justice, ATF, the Louisiana State Police, Baton Rouge Police Department, the Sheriff's Office. I mean, it's so many of them, announcing over 100 arrests in the capital city. I'm going to tell you why. Many of you might have wondered, when are we going to do something about the crime in Baton Rouge? And I'm sure that you were anxious about it. What we will use in New Orleans, don't tell them that, as a little testing for you. If you can fix New Orleans, hell, you can fix anything in this state. But we used New Orleans, and over the last 18 months, and the things that we've done in there as a testing ground. And we're using it so that we can replicate it. And our next stop, as we proved this morning, is right here in this area. I'm telling you, you want to cut up in this area, you're going to jail. Because you can't fix the problems of Louisiana if our streets are dangerous. You can't fix them as we bury the innocent with the opioid epidemic that's been ravaging throughout this country. No, you can't put smiles on people's faces if they don't feel safe. And we began to work on education, and we have seen a remarkable progress. I look, the job that the Bessie Board and Kate Brumley and them doing is literally historic. We made education reform a priority over the last 18 months. We created educational safety savings accounts, which we are going to fund, by the way. Those folks in the Senate. All right? We're going to fund it better than we did last year because we're going to give parents a choice. Because no kid should be stuck in a failing school because of a zip code. And those parents with special needs need to be able to move those kids in schools that are adapted to handle those special needs. We prioritize learning over bureaucracy. We stopped indoctrinating and we started educating. We want our teachers to teach. We took cell phones out of the classrooms and we're trying to put the 10 Commandments in. It's not a bad way to live your life. Just want you to know. I remember I had them. Many of you all did. And I'll tell you, taking those cell phones out was the best thing we ever did. I mean, where's the moms? I know that. We took those things out. We took them out, and I got accolades from all the parents, and my nieces and nephews called me and said, Uncle Jeff, what did you do? But for once, in a very long time, kids are actually talking to each other rather than passing up each other. Then we began to focus on the economy because our great Secretary of Economic Development, as she says, capital goes where capital is treated the best. And so we moved at an unprecedented speed for tax reform. Tax reform that has been tried again and again in this state. And in 2 weeks, the folks that stood up found a way when there seemed to be no way. And the results have been unbelievable. We lowered our income tax to the second lowest in the nation. We've drastically simplified our tax code. We moved from 40th in the Tax Foundation ranking to 25. And let me tell you why that's important. If you look at the states that are in the bottom in the Tax Foundation score, and you compare them to the states that are in the top 10, the amount of money that the average family takes in the bottom 10 versus the top 10, the amount that the top 10 makes versus the bottom 10 is unbelievable. We're talking like $11, $12, $18 to $22,000 more for the average family in the top 10. How many of y'all would like $11, $12, $18,000 more? And I looked, that was last year's rankings. I think that this year we actually think it'll win some more. We're getting to the top 10. We tackled the insurance crisis. And we did it in a balanced approach. We took an approach that no one ever dared to take, because we took on both sides. We said we're going to rein in the abuse on the civil law side, do legal reform, and we're also going to make sure that those insurance companies don't leave Louisiana with too much money that they should be giving you back. And I took a lot of criticism for it, but I'm going to tell you what. Today, 20 auto insurance companies have filed for rate decreases. That's historic. That's never been done. That really impacts your pocketbook. That's more money in our family's pocket. For over 30 years, the folks over in Calcasieu have been needing a new bridge. That sound familiar? Guess what? After 30 years, they're going to get that bridge. Why? Because we went out there and we actually went to work in leveraging what the state of Louisiana has. We took a 15% stake. We said, okay, listen, we're going to toll it. We get it. Because we've had 3 presidents promise a bridge over there in Calcasieu and none of them delivered it. We found a way, and we put the state of Louisiana as a 15% stakeholder. And let me tell you what those folks in Calcasieu are getting now. When that bridge is paid off, 15 cents on every dollar from that bridge is going to infrastructure in their area. How would y'all like that deal? How would y'all like that deal? Y'all want it? We're going to give it to you. We are going to give it to you. There's no doubt. We are going to work to get a bridge here. I know y'all think I'm crazy. Ask those folks in Richland Parish. They thought I was crazy too when I told them when I was running for governor that the first economic development project we were going to announce was going to be in North Louisiana. They hadn't seen that kind of money ever. I'm telling you, know why? Because we don't stop. Because the greatest gift that we have in this state is you. And we're not going to squander it. You know, the people of Louisiana have been bragging for a diversified economy, hell, since Huey Long. But today we're on the brink of one. You know why? Because of these gentlemen from Hyundai Steel. Y'all stand up for a second. Stand up. Stand up. Do you realize, I don't know if you realize, I'm telling you, I swear, we're moving so fast. I see people from Louisiana, they complain. I'm saying, y'all got your mouth full. Do you realize what these folks have done? When they build that steel mill, that will be the first steel mill in 60 years that was built in this country. And guess where it's going to be built? Right here in Louisiana, right in this parish. It complements, as Clint said, over $70 billion worth of private investment have poured into the state of Louisiana over the last 18 months. That's historic. That's never been done. Because of the work that the people you sent to Baton Rouge did. From the largest AI data center that will be built in the world, as I said, to the first steel mill in 60 years, to the largest construction project going on in North America. We've seized the momentum. President Trump's America First plan is paying dividends for this state. And it continues to be the story that no one in the state of Louisiana is writing about. But let me tell you this, they're writing about it outside of Louisiana. It's the most amazing thing. I'll prove it to you. Right here, Reuters, one of the major sources of news for the world, wrote an article about Louisiana. Said today the Bayou State is staging a revival that could see it emerge as the most dynamic and influential Gulf Coast hub in the coming decades. Let me ask you a question. Do y'all want to be first? Well, we're going to be first. But here's what we've done. We've done the real heavy lifting. We still got some work to do. Y'all legislators don't get too comfortable in your seats. We got some more work to be done, but really the big work is you. Because the question now is, are we capable of looking past the gaslighting that wants to divide us? Are we capable of having faith in those folks and myself that you sent to Baton Rouge, who have proven through these statistics that we can do and can do more? Because that momentum is real. From Europe to Asia, countries are turning to Louisiana for the products that they need. However, the ability to continue that momentum again is really going to be a question for you. Are we willing to embrace new opportunities that come before us, like carbon capture? Because it is what Europe and Asia are demanding. It's like putting that little blue tag on all of the products that you all work so hard to send around the world. And I want you to know I'm not here to debate the rationale or only the reality. And many legitimate questions have been asked, but there have been a lot of statements that have been made that are simply not true. Do we embrace it or don't we? Do we create a safe and trustworthy way like those before us embraced oil and gas and the refineries that have built the middle class here in Louisiana? Do we keep this historic momentum going or don't we? You know, it's really up to you. I've been trying to figure out how to explain change to folks. Came up with a little story. I'll tell you about it. I had two cousins, one named Boo and one named T. Both of them were some crafty, clever little Cajun fellas. They lived over in St. Martinville with me. They left St. Martinville and went to work as car salesmen. One of them went to Houston, worked for one of those fancy car selling places, you know, like those Ferraris or Porsches. I don't know about them. I hadn't had one. Can't get in one. They sit too low to the ground. The other one went over and worked at the Chevy dealership in Lake Charles. That was T. So Boo goes to Houston, T goes to Lake Charles. About a year passes. I invite him over to the camp. T shows up with a brand new bass boat. I'm talking about the thing had metallic paint on it so bright you had to put your sunglasses on. Had a chrome trailer. I mean, with the boat and the trailer looked like a Mardi Gras float. He had every little bit of them gadgets you have. How many of y'all bass fish? Any of y'all? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I mean, the rod holders, the fish finders. I mean, look, he could have found my wallet if I'd have dropped it in the water. Now, the last time he was over at the camp, fella had just a little P-roll. Was leaking from all them cypress things he had hit. Paddle was chewed up by his dog, and he was sitting on a 5-gallon bucket. Well, me and Boo were trying to figure out, like, how did he afford this? So we asked him. We said, hey, how'd you afford this fancy boat? He said, let me tell you something. I just made so much money. You should see all the things that I bought. And that's how I bought it. He said, well, how you made the money? He said, well, let me just tell you how. He said, it's real quick. He said, I was in the showroom. Chevrolet had just sent us a brand new special edition Corvette. They made one for every state, but they sent us one. So we had it out there, it was shiny red, so a fella walked in. Had a little French accent so I could really understand him. Started looking at the car. I asked him if I could help. He said, yeah, I'm looking for a sports car, kind of like this. He said, well, you come to the right place. Why don't you sit in it? The fella sat in. He said, no, I really like this car. I said, I'll get you one. Not a problem. You can have, in fact, you can have this one. The fella said, I don't need this one. I need 50 of them. He said, he thought to himself, I don't want to lose him. The fella's either half crazy or I might have something right here. He said, I tell you, I'll get you 50. But you got to give me all your information. I got to go check your credit. So I said, no problem. Gives him his license, all the information. So T goes in the back. He sees the manager. Manager says, what's going on? He tells him the story. He says, let's check his credit. He says, well, T, how you? He said, let's just check his record, see if he got the money, you know. They check it out. Lo and behold, the fella got more money than Hunter, which he got a lot of money. I mean, lots of money. So the salesman says, T, what you going to do? He says, oh, look. He said, I hear they make those Chevrolet, those Corvettes up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Let's call the fellas up there. Maybe they'll make us a few more. So they call the manager up, they ask him about it. They tell him what he got. The manager says, well, I tell you what, if the fella will pay for him up front and he'll get the same car, exact same car, all the accessories, we'll make you 50 more. He runs up to the front and tells the fella that. The fella says, no problem. They pull out the book. They start heated steering wheels, you know, air conditioning. All the I don't know. Any of y'all got a Corvette? See what I'm talking about? All the accessories. They put them all down. They get to the color. Fella says, what's your color? You want red? No. Black? White? Fella says, no. He said, well, you know, I've seen some of those sports cars. They're like a banana yellow. No. So what color you want? He said, look. He said, I like mine pink with some big blue polka dots. He said, what? He said, no. I want all 50 of them just like that. He said, I don't know if I can get them. He said, well, if you can't get them in that color, I don't want it. He says, hold on one question. I'll be right back. Runs over to the back. Tells the manager, man, said, what you going to do? He said, call that fella up in Bowling Green. Come on, we can't let this guy go. You know, I mean, we fixing to make a pile of money. They call the fella up. The fella said, there ain't no way we making that. He says, now, pushes the manager aside. He said, listen, hold on, partner. You don't understand what you got right here. We fixing to make a bunch of money. You got to do it. He said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. You go back. You're such a great salesman. Go back and tell the fella we'll give him that color scheme for 50% upcharge. He says, okay, I can do that. He said, you do that, we'll sell it to you, we'll make it to you, we'll ship those 50 cars. He runs back, he sees the little fella, tells him, he says, I got you, I got it done. The fella whips out his checkbook, writes him a check. He says, T, let me tell you something. He says, you deliver them cars to me, I'm coming back right after, and I'm gonna get trucks. He said, I buy so many cars you can't even believe it. And if you keep giving me what I want, I'll keep buying you. He said, I made so much money, I'm getting ready to buy me a little small farm. He said, I bought every Weatherby rifle they make. I can shoot everything from a squirrel to an elephant now. Right about that time, I looked over at Boo. He was looking a little sick, a little young. I said, Boo, what's wrong with you? He said, hold on. He said, T, the fellow that walked in, was he one of them little French fellas like from Paris? Real dressed up, had one of them silk ties? He says, yes, him. He said, had him a little French accent? I said, yep. He didn't happen to have some of them alligator slippers on. He said, well, you know the fella? He said, I think I'm going to be sick, T. He said, the fella was in our showroom in Houston, wanting a bunch of baby blue Porsches. And my sales manager threw him out. You see what I'm saying? The question is, are we going to throw him out? Or are we going to let Texas beat us again? Just because we're not willing to look at other additional opportunities. Are we willing to do what we've never done, which is stand next to the industries and the people that have built this state and say, guess what? We can coexist. When we sat down with Hyundai and they said they wanted to come, we said, listen, we don't give the farm away no more, but I tell you what, we'll work with you because we like those jobs. Because the jobs that they're creating are real. In Lake Charles over there, on the LNG plants that they've done, they got 1,000 new permanent jobs. You know what the average salary of those jobs are? Anybody want to guess? Come on. How much? Merch says 120. $200,000. You see what I'm saying? This is our opportunity. Look, past governors, I get it. Believe you me, I get it more than anybody realizes. Have walked away from these opportunities. You know why? Because change is hard. And people, they want it until you institute it sometimes. And then that change scares them. And so they think, maybe I'm better off in my misery than what's behind the door. Not me. I got resolve. Reminds me of two young fellas filled with optimism and ambition, applying for a job. They both believed they were the best person for that job. They wanted that job so bad, they couldn't taste it. They applied for the job. They wanted so bad they woke up real early in the morning and walked 2 miles to get the interview because they wanted to be first. Got up at sunrise. Got over to the place, found out they wasn't first. They were 20th. One of them looks at it really disappointed because he wanted to get first. He's thinking if he could get first in line, he could get the job. So you know what he did? He turned around and he went back home. One of them little fellas said, not a problem. He stood right behind number 21. He wrote a little note. He asked everybody in front of him to pass it up to the fella at the desk. The fella at the desk opened it up. Note said, I'm the 21st kid in line. Don't hire anybody until you see me. You see, you got to stick with it. In fact, Albert Einstein said he was never the smartest man in the world. He just stuck with a problem longer than everyone else. And I get it. I get it. You can always find people who love to complain. Believe you me, if you can't find them, come over up to the Capitol. All right? And they complain that progress is either not fast enough or it's moving too slow, or they complain about what needs to be done or what somebody else is not doing. They brag about what they could do, but they never do it. There are those that claim that they got a better way than you doing it, or they lack the patience for what it takes to change things. And that's okay. That's okay. That's just what we deal with. And they say that politics is a selfish business. I've never subscribed to that. Because Ronald Reagan once said, there is no measure of good that you can do, the amount of good that you can do, if you don't care who takes credit. And by continuing to work with the people who you sent to me to work with, people who care about the next generation in the next election, we are writing the greatest story that no one is talking about. And so, what I will tell you is that we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity, the like of which we never had. We can write a new book. Because I believe you elected me and them to change this state, and that is exactly what we're doing. You want us to change this state, so that your kids could grow up with great memories like I had. When I went to bed at night in a little small town and I woke up, couldn't wait to see what kind of trouble I could get into next. In the little towns around the state that offered so much, when you didn't have to lock your doors at night, when you knew everybody. When the booms and the busts of the oil field certainly affected us, but our farms and our refineries seemed to buffer those hard bombs. But I'm going to let you know something. Decades of bad policies in Washington, D.C. have robbed this state. Every bad decision made at our nation's capital has sunk Louisiana deeper and deeper in despair. But I've always believed in you. I've always believed in Louisiana. Because our trials have taught us lessons of hard work and faith and loyalty, and above all, faith. Faith that whatever nature or foe threw at us, we seem to never waver. We never give up. That in the despairs and challenges and sorrow that you instilled in me, the ability and the resolve to right those wrongs of the past, to place this state on a path to success. Because you see, I've been lucky enough to travel around this state, around this country. Around this country. And I have seen opportunity and economic progress that has evaded this state while we have waited. I want you to know something. We don't wait no more. We do not wait anymore. Because today, the world gets to see us for who we are. The people who never quit and never quit trying. The people that find a way when there is no way. The people that always have a smile on their face and a warm seat at their table. The people whose culture of hard work and our humility are our greatest asset. Ask those folks right here. So I will tell you this. Whether they write this story today or not, today, you all are living in the greatest story that has yet to be told. And how it ends now depends on you. Thank you. God bless you. We are going to do some unbelievable great things. Thank you so very much.